You know that feeling when you're grinding every single day, analyzing charts, taking trades, but your account still flat, or worse, slowly bleeding? You're doing everything right, or so you think. But here's the thing nobody tells you. Profitability doesn't show up in your account first. It shows up in your behavior. And there are 5 weird, almost counterintuitive signs that you're about to turn the corner, even if your P&L doesn't reflect it yet. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I break down the psychology and strategy behind consistent trading. Today we're talking about the 5 weird signs that profitability is right around the corner. Signs that have nothing to do with how much money you made this week. And if you stick around to the end, I'll share the one sign that separates traders who eventually make it from those who don't. Let's dive in. Look, I get it. You've been trading for months, maybe even years. You've watched hundreds of hours of YouTube videos. You've blown accounts. You've had winning streaks followed by brutal drawdowns. And you keep asking yourself, when is this going to click? The truth is, most traders quit right before they turn profitable. Why? Because they're looking at the wrong indicators. They're focused on dollars and cents when they should be focused on behavioral shifts. These 5 signs, they're the real leading indicators of success. So in this video, we're going to cover all 5 signs in detail. I'll explain what each one means, why it matters, and how to know if you're there yet. And if you recognize even 3 of these 5 in yourself, you're closer than you think. All right, let's get into sign number 1. And this one trips people up because it sounds wrong at first. Sign number 1. You stop chasing every single setup that comes your way. This one's counterintuitive because when you're starting out, you think more trades equals more opportunities equals more money. But here's what really happens. In the beginning, you see setups everywhere. Every moving average cross, every support and resistance bounce, every candlestick pattern. You're jumping into trades left and right because you don't want to miss out. You're afraid that if you don't take this trade, you'll miss the trade. But what happens? You're overtrading. You're taking mediocre setups. You're entering positions that don't meet your criteria just because you're bored or you want action, and your account suffers. But then something shifts. You start to develop what I call trade patience. You realize that the market isn't going anywhere. You don't need to trade every day. You start saying no to setups that are just okay and waiting for the ones that are hell yes. This is huge because when you stop chasing, you start preserving capital. You stop death by 1,000 cuts. Your win rate might actually go up because you're only taking your best ideas. I'll give you an example from my own trading. When I first started, I was taking 15 to 20 trades a week. I felt productive. I felt busy. But I was basically breaking even or losing slowly. Then I made a rule. I would only trade if I felt 8 out of 10 confident in the setup. Not 6 out of 10, not maybe. 8 out of 10 or higher. You know what happened? My trade frequency dropped to like 5 to 7 trades a week. But my win rate jumped from 45% to 62%. And my average win got bigger because I was actually giving my trades room to breathe. So how do you know if you're at this stage? Ask yourself. 1. Are you comfortable letting days go by without a trade? 2. Do you have a clear checklist for what makes a grade A setup, and do you stick to it? 3. Do you feel FOMO when you miss a setup, or do you feel confident in your decision to wait? If you can say yes to at least 2 of these, you're exhibiting sign number 1. Now, a common mistake is going too far in the other direction. You become so selective that you're paralyzed and never trade. That's not patience. That's fear. The key is having a defined strategy with clear entry criteria. Write down what makes a good setup for your system. Then stick to it. Journal every trade you take and every trade you skip. Over time, you'll see patterns. You'll see that the trades you skipped, most of them would have been losers anyway. This isn't about trading less for the sake of it. It's about trading smarter. Quality over quantity. All right, so that's sign number 1. You stop chasing every setup. You develop patience and selectivity. This is foundational. Now, sign number 2 builds on this, and it's something that makes a lot of traders uncomfortable at first. Sign number 2, you're comfortable sitting in cash. This might sound boring, but it's one of the most powerful signs you are maturing as a trader. Let me explain why. When you're new to trading, cash feels like wasted opportunity. You think, if I'm not in a trade, I'm not making money. So you're always looking for the next entry. You treat being flat like you're missing out. But profitable traders? They understand that cash is a position. It's not sitting on the sidelines. It's actively waiting for the right opportunity. Cash is your ammunition. You don't waste bullets just because you have them. Here's the thing. The market doesn't care if you need to make money this week. Some weeks, there are no good setups. The conditions aren't there. Volatility is dead, or it's all chop, or the trend isn't clear. If you force trades during these times, you're just donating money to the market. But if you can sit in cash and wait for clarity, you preserve your capital. You avoid unnecessary losses. And when the good setup finally comes, you have the full firepower to capitalize on it. I remember a period last year where the market was absolute garbage for my strategy. It was choppy, range-bound, no clear direction. Every trade I took got stopped out. It was brutal. Old me would have kept fighting it, but instead, I just stopped. I went flat for almost 2 weeks. I still analyzed the charts every day, but I didn't take a single trade. And you know what? The moment conditions improved, I came back and had one of my best months. So how do you know if you're there? Here are the questions to ask. 1. Can you close your trading platform for a day or a week without feeling anxious? 2. Do you feel relief when you're in cash, or do you feel like you're missing out? 3. Are you patient enough to wait for your specific setup, even if it takes days? If you're nodding your head to these, you're showing sign number 2. Now, if you're not there yet, here's how you develop this comfort with cash. First, define your market conditions. What kind of environment does your strategy thrive in? Trending? Volatile? Low volatility? Write it down. Second, use a filter. Before you even look for setups, check. Are conditions favorable? If not, close the charts. Go do something else. This sounds simple, but it's game-changing. Third, reframe cash in your mind. Cash isn't neutral, it's positive. Every day you don't lose money is a win. You're protecting your capital for when the real opportunities show up. All right, so that's sign number 2. You're comfortable in cash. You're not forcing trades. You understand that sometimes the best move is no move at all. Now let's talk about sign number 3. And this one's about how you emotionally respond to wins. Sign number 3. You stop celebrating small wins like they're huge victories. Now, hear me out on this one. I'm not saying don't acknowledge your wins. I'm talking about something deeper. When you're a beginner, every win is a high. You hit a 2% gain and you're on cloud nine. You're texting your friends, posting on Twitter, feeling like a genius. Then you have a losing trade and you crash. You're depressed, doubting everything. This emotional roller coaster is exhausting, and it's a sign you're too attached to individual outcomes. You're treating trading like a lottery ticket instead of a business. But here's what changes when you're getting closer to profitability. You start seeing each trade as just one data point in a large sample size. A single win? Cool. Expected. Part of the process. You're not popping champagne over a $50 profit. Why? Because you know there will be losses. You know that one good trade doesn't mean you've cracked the code. You're emotionally stable because you're focused on the long game. I used to do this all the time. I'd have a winning day and I'd feel invincible. I'd screenshot my P&L, post it, whatever. But then the next day, I'd give back half of it and feel terrible. Now, a winning trade barely registers emotionally. I'm like, okay, that worked. Next. Same with losses. It's data. It's feedback. It's not a reflection of my worth as a trader or a person. Here's why this matters. When you're emotionally reactive, you make bad decisions. You're more likely to overtrade after a win because you feel invincible. You're more likely to take revenge after a loss because you want to get it back. But when you're emotionally stable, you stick to your plan. You execute your system without being swayed by recent results. And that's what leads to consistency. So ask yourself, when you have a winning trade, do you feel a massive rush? Or do you feel calm and focused? Do you celebrate every green day like it's a miracle? Or do you just update your journal and move on? If you're closer to the second option, you're showing sign number 3. To develop this, start journaling your emotions after each trade. Notice patterns. Notice when you're too high or too low. Over time, practice bringing yourself back to neutral. Remind yourself, it's one trade in hundreds. All right, so that's sign number 3. You're emotionally stable. You're not riding the highs and lows of individual trades. Now, sign number 4 is about how you handle the other side of the equation. Losses. And this is where a lot of traders get stuck. Sign number 4. Losses don't emotionally wreck you anymore. This is probably the biggest indicator that you're close to turning profitable. Let me break down why. When you're new, every loss feels personal. You're angry at yourself. You're questioning everything. You're wondering if you're cut out for this. A bad trade can ruin your whole day, sometimes your whole week. You take it as evidence that you're failing. You might even spiral into revenge trading, trying to make it back immediately. Sound familiar? But here's what changes. You start to truly internalize that losses are just part of the business. Not in a theoretical way like you've heard it before, but in a real, visceral way. You understand that even the best traders in the world have losing trades. Even with a 60% win rate, that means 40% of your trades will lose. And that's okay. It's expected. It's priced in. I'll never forget the first time I took a decent loss and just didn't care. I mean, I cared. I reviewed it. I journaled it. But emotionally, nothing. I was like, okay, that didn't work. My stop did its job. On to the next. That's when I knew something had shifted. I wasn't defined by my losses anymore. They were just data points, feedback from the market. Here's why this is so critical. When losses wreck you emotionally, you make irrational decisions. You break your rules. You double down. You skip your best setups because you're scared. But when you accept losses as part of the process, you stay disciplined. You keep executing your system. You don't let one bad trade derail your entire week. And that's what separates consistent traders from everyone else. So how do you get here? First, proper risk management. If a single loss can hurt you financially, you're risking too much. Never risk more than 1 to 2% per trade. Second, review your losses objectively. Did you follow your plan? If yes, the loss is just variance. If not, it's a lesson. Either way, it's valuable. Third, track your statistics. When you see that your system works over time, individual losses stop mattering. You trust the process. All right, so that's sign number 4. Losses don't wreck you. You're emotionally resilient. You understand variance. Now, we're getting to the final sign. Sign number 5. And this is the one that ties everything together. This is the sign that if you have it, profitability is basically inevitable. Sign number 5. You're obsessed with process, not profit. This is the big one. This is the mindset shift that changes everything. Let me explain. When you start trading, you're obsessed with the money. You're checking your P&L constantly. You're thinking about what you'll do when you hit your profit target. You're focused on the outcome. And here's the problem. You can't control outcomes. You can execute a perfect trade and still lose. The market doesn't care about your bills or your goals. So when you're outcome focused, you're frustrated all the time. But profitable traders, they flip the script. They focus on what they can control, their process, their execution, their discipline. They ask, did I follow my plan? Did I wait for my setup? Did I manage risk properly? Did I stick to my rules? If the answer is yes, they consider it a win, regardless of whether the trade made money. I remember the exact moment this clicked for me. I had a week where I took 5 trades. 3 were losers, 2 were winners. Net P&L, basically break even. Old me would have been frustrated, but I reviewed each trade and realized I executed perfectly. I followed my rules on all 5. The losers were just variants, and I felt proud. That's when I knew I'd made the shift. Here's the beautiful thing about being process-focused. When you consistently execute a good process, profits will come. It's inevitable. You're stacking probabilities in your favor over and over again. Think about it like this. A basketball player who focuses on perfect form, footwork, and practice will score more points over time than the player who just focuses on the scoreboard. Same principle. So how do you know if you're there? Ask yourself. 1. Do you review your trades based on execution quality or just profit? 2. Can you feel satisfied with a losing trade if you followed your rules? 3. Do you have a clearly defined process that you follow religiously? If you're saying yes to these, you've got sign number 5. To develop this, create a checklist for every trade, pre-trade, during, and post-trade. Grade yourself on execution. Make that your scoreboard. All right, so there you have it. The 5 weird signs you're about to become profitable. 1. You stop chasing every setup. 2. You're comfortable with cash. 3. Small wins don't create huge emotional swings. 4. Losses don't wreck you. 5. You're obsessed with the process. If you're showing even 3 of these 5, you're on the right track. Now let's wrap this up with some final thoughts. All right, everyone, let's bring it all together. We've covered the 5 weird signs that you're about to turn profitable, even if your account doesn't show it yet. Sign 1. You stop chasing every setup. You become selective. Sign 2, you're comfortable sitting in cash. You preserve capital. Sign 3, small wins don't make you euphoric. You're emotionally stable. Sign 4, losses don't wreck you. You accept variance. And sign 5, you're obsessed with process, not profit. You control what you can control. Here's the thing. These signs aren't just random behaviors. They're evidence of a fundamental shift in how you think about trading. You're no longer gambling. You're no longer hoping. You're operating like a professional. And when you operate like a professional, when you have the right habits, the right mindset, the right process, profitability isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Look, I know this journey is hard. I know there are days where you want to quit, where you wonder if you'll ever figure it out. But if you're watching this video and you recognize yourself in even a few of these signs, you're closer than you think. Most traders quit right before they succeed because they're looking at the wrong indicators. They're looking at their account balance instead of their behavior. Don't make that mistake. So here's what I want you to do. Take an honest inventory. Which of these 5 signs do you already have? Which ones do you need to work on? Write them down. Make a plan. Focus on developing these habits before worrying about your P&L. Trust me, the money follows the behavior, not the other way around. All right, if you found this video helpful, do me a favor. Smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment below telling me which of these 5 signs you recognize in yourself. I read every single comment. And if you want to dive deeper into trading psychology and strategy, check out this video where I break down the biggest mistakes keeping you from profitability. Thanks for watching, everyone. Remember, profitability shows up in your behavior before it shows up in your account. Keep grinding, keep improving, and I'll see you in the next one.